I am happy to introduce Merrill Aldighieri, who's been a big part of Howl the last few years. We have a big, well, I would say it's more than a chunk. It's like hundreds of hours of amazing concerts that she was the first, you call it a VJ now, right? Videographer, women videographer, particularly at Hurrah, and amassed an incredible amount of great footage. And Jim Farrat, who was running the bands and booking them, is also in attendance tonight. And I recognize a few of you too, but Merrill's had different events here, and we're really pleased to have her back. Anytime she's doing something, we're like, yeah, come on in. So she flew in, and come on up from Paris to New York.
Thank you, Aldo. So this is my latest film with a certain ratio, and I've been trying to make at least one film every year, and this one I just completed in November of this year. The footage, there's a full concert of a certain ratio that I filmed in 1980, and then the rest of it is either a weird mix of old archival images that I used to use as a video jockey, and then new stuff that I make that's, you know, I imitate my own style. and then I did new interviews with the lead guy, Martin Moskroff, and then I did a little snippet of 3 of the band members we presented this in London in December, so that's towards the end. And I hope you'll enjoy it. And you can ask me questions after the screening.
Okay, I'm Martin Moskroff from A Certain Ratio. That particular gig, Martin Hannett was producing our album at the time, and Martin Hannett has never ever done live sound for any factory acts before, but he actually did the sound at that gig.
Your blood, red, red blood, your blood, blood.
I thought of lots of interesting, tiny little details to say while I was watching it, and I've forgotten every single bit now. Let me think. There's a whole lot of history in every little layering of images. A lot of those films, a lot of my special effects were originally made at Experimental TV Center in Oswego, New York. They had like fellowship program for video artists. You could crash there for a week and fool around with their equipment. And they had the Namjoon Pike synthesizer and some other stuff. So some of that stuff is layered in there. And there's, you know, footage from my early experimental films that I made in the 70s that are in there. What else? There's a tiny bit of Penny Arcade in there. Who else? There's a few. Oh, the couple that are kissing I made that for a film I made with Quentin Crisp called The Kissing Booth. And the guy is the grandson of Will Hammerstein. He's from the lineage of the Broadway musical writer Hammerstein, and I forget, it was a famous, who? Yeah. So he was the grandson. Just coincidentally met him, and he recruited him. The girl was a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend. I didn't keep in touch with her, and I don't remember what her name was or anything, but she was really cool. And she was not into Will at all, so they did a really good job. For art. They did it for art.
The black and white piece with the little white beads that they were passing.
The stones, yeah, that was
really cool.
That was a film I made with my high school buddy who eventually we shared a place in college. He's a great painter named Dennis Smith, and I choreographed that whole thing it was part of an experimental film I made, and that was shot, I think, I forget which beach. It might have been in Marblehead or somewhere up in Boston, around there.
It's really cool. What kind of camera did you use to shoot with?
That was shot with a Bolex, a 16 millimeter film. There's a lot of film in there, and then all the concerts were shot with a JVC home video camera, one tube camera. Yeah, so it's a mix of film and video and animation, frame by frame, a lot of it, frame by frame animation. The sound was from the board, was recorded from the board in stereo. Martin Hannett, the producer of their album. He was over from England. Yeah, he did a really good mix, good sound mix. There were a lot of good mixers there at Hurrah, a few different ones, maybe like 4 different people who normally did the sound mixing. And it could make a big difference, but sometimes it was flawless and sometimes not so good. A few times, some of the musicians, if they were already amplified, they wouldn't be put in through the mixing board, and those were disappointing because the bass player wouldn't be in there or somebody. But quite often I got some good mixes, so I was happy about that. Ed Bauman from 99 Records, he did his own mixing for his 99 Records people, Liquid and ESG and Bush Tetras. And he released live albums from the same nights that I was filming. So I have, the perfect exact sound of the records. So that was lucky.
And Liquid.
Huh?
I'm back here.
Aha!
And Liquid, you said at Ballman.
Yes.
I had 2 questions.
Okay.
My first question is, you had a couple dancing near the end of the entire thing, and they were doing this kind of fun dance, but I wasn't sure if it was actually part of the concert, or was it something you put in?
It was shot at Hurrah, but it was a different night.
Oh, it was a great mix together.
One of the
with
guys
show.
that was there was Dave Street, who passed away.
Yeah, I thought it was a great
not too long ago.
collage together. And 2, did you shoot the footage through the bridges?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, various times of my life.
Anybody else want to talk? Jim, anybody? And then we'll pass it to the second row here.
I'm very impressed with how the selection of the side images and movement was so consistent with the mood that the musicians were actually making. And the only distraction for me was at the very end with some awful male dancer jumping all over the floor. But other than that, I just thought you did a beautiful job in terms of tone, that matched what the musicians were doing, and that was so important that for me to see it this way. Congratulations, Merrill.
Thank you, Jim.
So Merrill, yeah, I loved your supporting images. It was great. I remember when you were starting out making supporting images in things like the karaoke videos, and you know, this stuff is amazing. So, question in general about your accumulating library of really historical pieces from an amazing time. Is that one night I had a date at Hurrah with a music industry titan's sister-in-law, and when the raincoats were on, and the sister-in-law was an idiot and didn't like this, and we all had to leave. And I managed to make excuses at their nearby home and race back in time to catch Gang of Four. And that was a very happy moment in my life, although they didn't talk to me again. And I want to ask, are you trying to do a Gang of Four piece or a Raincoats piece or any of those things? You must have like 5,000 options of at least making an effort to clear rights and do things.
Yeah. I've got a Gang of Four film. I edited the concert already like a couple of years ago, and then I did one interview with Hugo that I wanted to add in, and I'd like to get John in a Zoom call, but I haven't quite mastered my Zoom. But we'll see. So that's something that every September I think I've got to do this in time for New Year's, because this was the New Year's show, but maybe this year. Maybe next year. So yeah, the Raincoats, I don't have that footage. It was one of the very few footage that the band asked for the tape, and my ex-partner stupidly gave them the original with no copies.
Oh.
So, but that's one of the only ones that disappeared.
Cool.
Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I think it's very interesting, Merrill, that in this year, we look at this thing and realize what treasures have been that you've saved and memorized. But at the time, it was very controversial when the video people were filming without the band knowing it, without, you know, and I know that for myself, there was a special contract for if the band wanted to be shot. Mm-hmm. But I'm so grateful that you, in particular, have saved these memories, because this certain ratio is such a, it's like a kitchen band. I mean, here in America, you know, playing at the kitchen, and it brought back so many memories for me. I just want to thank you.
Well, when I was at Hurrah, I made up my own release forms, and I had a checkbox that the bands could check how much I could do with it. And I still have all those original contracts. But when I try to do something, so far I haven't really done anything commercial with any of it, so there haven't been any big problems with release forms. But I'm more or less in contact with everybody who I do a finished film with, and somehow we, work out something. But I've already got original contracts. Some of them said, no, you can't do anything with it. Maybe one or two. No, not all the bands are not alive. But I have contacted a lot of them before they died. Yeah. In fact, I coordinated quite a bit with Martin Moskroff, and he arranged for the first screening, which was in December in England. And he organized the whole event, and they sold their merchandise. It was really fun, and there were 3 of the guys from the band were there. And he really wanted something, because they're doing stuff with their catalog, and they continue to make new albums. So they're a very active band. And quite a few of the bands are still producing stuff. So it's interesting to catch their new stuff.
So, I'm going to introduce. My name is Tony V. I was a Boston fixture back in. How many people were at that show, by the way? I was at that show. Yes. Anyone else was at the show? right around the same time. So a couple of us have gotten older. What's really fascinating, I haven't seen Merrill in maybe over 40 years, right? We're friends on Facebook, so we're still in contact. But I came all the way, we have an art gallery in Jersey City that we're doing. In a weird way, that we get old and go out. I'm a minister in a church too, but I'm 73 years old. My partner died a few months ago, and what are you gonna do? So my partner and I said, my business partner, so let's open an art gallery. So I'm on Facebook and I see the Merrill is doing this thing. And so we come in because this is the way it is. After 45 years, to still be friends with the same people that we were, around the same type of music, to see the same stuff, and to see you still doing creative stuff for years and years and years is such a pleasure. Thank you, Merrill.
It's around, I think it's 113 bands, and I think it's like 175 concerts, because some of the bands I did more than one concert. So, yeah. And you have footage for Yeah, I've digitized my entire archive, and I hope to sell clones of the archive to cultural institutes. If anybody knows anybody interested, let me know.
Are there any American bands that you were fond of that were taped?
Oh yeah, a lot. I mean, I love Pylon. I love Liquid, I love ESG, I love Bush Tetras, I love Poly Rock, yeah, Suicide. I love Mission of Burma. It's a sort of a personal favorite. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I mean, there's a whole bunch of others. I mean, I can't even remember them all.
Can you tell us about your time in England, how long you were there, how you supported yourself?
Oh, well, I live in France. I live in Paris. Yep. So once in a while, in 1980, no, I lived in New York in 1980. This was all filmed in New York. Yeah. I did make a trip to London before this, in the 70s, and I was deported. I was an illegal immigrant. They said to me, well, where's your green card? I said, what's a green card? I said, okay, you go over in that room with the Indians and we'll get back to you. And I had a really interesting 3 months there of being an illegal alien. There was like an underground railroad for cheap workers, and I had all kinds of jobs. Yeah, it was fun. In London.
When did you leave New York?
I left New York in 1998, 99, 98, 99, around there. Maybe 97. I fell in love with a French guy and moved to France.
And did any of the bands refuse to be filmed?
No. I always asked them, or at least I always tried to ask them. One time I didn't ask them. It was the Flesh Tones, and I actually did a whole full concert with them because they had a big following in England, and we worked together on that. But at the time, it was a surprise to them that I was there, and the lead singer came up and grabbed the camera from me. And I kept on stooping down to get away from him until I was crouched down, and he grabbed the camera and he was like flailing it around, shooting the stuff. And at first I was trying to shoot through his legs because, I couldn't shoot him anymore, he was too close. And it was just a really shocking moment for me. And then he handed the camera back to me, thank God. And that was one of the weirdest films I have at all, because we should have planned it because it was pretty cool, but at the time I was kind of freaked out. How did you archive all the footage? First it was transferred from the original U-Matics to mini DVs, and then I digitized the mini DVs to the computer. So you've done all of that? Mm-hmm. took years. Yeah.
Thank you. Hi. I really enjoyed the film. I'm sorry if you already said this, but was with your, you said in the hundreds or at least over 100 videos that you have taken of different bands, do you have a plan to put together and compile a retrospective to release, or how are the releases for any future films going to be done?
Well, the first one I made was really a bit of an overview of everything. I have 30 different bands in it and 30 interviews with people that worked at the club and me telling my story of how I got into the whole thing. And that's called VJ Diaries. That's the name of that film. Then I just keep continuing to make films more like this one, where it's one concert with embellishments. And I did a few that were conceptual. I did one called The 7 Deadly Synths. And it's a play on 7 Deadly Sins, but with bands that had synthesizers. And I interviewed 7 bands, about their opinions about sin. And that came out pretty fun. So every once in a while I get a weird idea for a concept. But yeah, I have no particular plans. I'm open to things, whatever I feel like doing or whatever somebody suggests. How did I get into what? Into doing all this? Well, it was a slow progression. I mean, in high school, I had quite an extraordinary opportunity. The teacher got a grant to give film cameras to the class. And I was one of the few who really, really excelled at that. And the teacher told me, you really should make a career in film. So I decided to do that because I actually couldn't decide what I wanted to do. I like to do everything. And I thought, well, with film, I could do everything, and so that's what I did. I went to school, went to Mass College of Art. They didn't have a film major, so I convinced them to make a film major. I said, film can do everything. This should be a major. So they said, oh, okay. So I was a film major, and then after that, I worked as a cameraman for the first cable news station in America was in Santa Cruz, California. And that, for me, was so much fun. That's all I wanted to do, is be a cameraman for the news. And because I just loved it, 6 hours a day, looking at everybody and listening to their stories. So when I came to New York, I went to every TV station and tried to get a job as a cameraman for the news. And they all told me, they wouldn't even give me an application form. They said, well, first of all, women don't do this job. And second, we've got like 80-year-old guys that have had the job their whole life, and they're not going to leave till they die. So, and the only place that would even consider me was CNN. It was just starting, and this guy was going to test me. And when I went in to do the test, he had a hernia operation, and he wasn't there. And that day, I started working at the Muppet Show. So I never pursued my career as a cameraman for the news. And I worked at the Muppets for 2 years. That was really fun. And then at the end of that, I had made this science fiction film with all the bookkeeper and all the staff. And I was invited to show that at Hurrah. So that's got me into the nightclub thing. At Hurrah? No, I was in my 20s, like 20, 26, 25, something like that. I was a little bit older than some of the people there.
Not me. You don't have to answer this question, but I want to ask you, what is your favorite band and why?
Let's see. The first band I think of, but...
That's good.
The first band I think of is Gang of Four. because I love the unusual syncopation of the rhythm, but also New Order was a sort of an awakening for me, because it was the first time I heard a band that for me was more atmospheric than lyrical. So that kind of opened a new horizon. And but Gang of Four was kind of hit me on every level. I mean, it was visceral. There was a lot going on stage with the band members, and the theme, the lyrics of the songs were quite unusual, very intellectual, but also visceral. It was just an interesting combination for me.
On the record, my favorite live band show was Gang of Four and Pylon.
Mine too. 79.
At Hurrah, yep. Yeah, we first met at Hurrah when I was working there, and he was leaving to start Danceteria.
Oh.
In the city, so you had to deal with them on one hand. I just said the boys in the back room controlled every live nightclub with live music or dancing. And when I walked away, after they locked the door to my office, they put a contract out on me. And I only learned 2 years ago that someone knew me from the original Gay Liberation Front, a lesbian whose uncle was the top guy on the East Coast. And she said, "Don't kill him. Seriously, don't kill him." And that's the way it was. I mean, other people died who ran successful clubs because they did something, whatever. So that's the back scene. This is the front scene. This is what anyone who went to these clubs that were really of merit had a wonderful, wonderful experience. And the young people today don't have that kind of live experience. So what Merrill has captured here is something we all, hopefully, were able to partake in.
And I want to say that because it's amazing. I wish I lived in the 80s. I was just a little too young for it. And the music scene, DNA, Raincoats, and all of that. Thank you for this film. It's like, it shows it gives me the feeling of it, the ambiance of it. I wished I lived in that time. And I believe like this film and what you do, Merrill, should be in the MoMA. And I'm going to try to figure out who I need to contact for you to have like a film program there, because
That'd be great. I have about 20 features like this one that I haven't shown.
I really, like, I'll work with you and I'll try to find the MoMA person that needs, because I feel like this is a total, like, MoMA would love this because it's their jam. They would love to, like, show the film program there would love this. And I feel like this tone and, like, I didn't even know a certain ratio. I was like, blew my mind, that whole thing, and the whole music scene in the 80s. I totally wished I lived there, because it's such an amazing scene I love the Raincoats and the sound of it. Like, it feels so performative now, and like then it was just like people living that whole rhythm and that whole scene. I know that New York was tough, but like...
Well, the thing that I loved about Hurrah was that a lot of the bands that played there, they were discovering their own music. It was a small enough venue that they didn't really... Like, The Cure played there, and they didn't have their outfits, they didn't have their makeup, they just looked freaked out, and they're just like... against all odds, they opened their mouth and played their instruments. And there's this real excitement to discovering musicians, discovering their own music that you don't often have because they have to be so slick before they get hired anywhere.
But you have an amazing eye, like the way that you captured the sound and the feeling of it, and like you should be making music videos. It was amazing. Thank you, Merrill.
Thank you. Did you interview all the bands? No. I'm doing that now, little by little. If I meet them on Facebook, I try to arrange something. No, I didn't speak to anybody back then. I was too timid. In fact, this stuff just sat on a bench in a closet until COVID. COVID sort of sprung me into action because, except for one or two things, like I did one film with the Del Byzantines because I met the bass player of Del Byzantines, and he pushed me and got me in contact with everybody so I could do a real proper film. And one other group, Time and Dog, I did one with him, and I even filmed his marriage, his wedding tape. And one of the funniest things was I gave him a copy of the unedited raw footage concert, and I met his son, who had just picked it up and looked at it, and his son was the same age that he was when I filmed it, and he's going, "Oh my God, that's my father. He's my age." You know, that was just an exciting thing to see that. But
I really thought it was amazing. You said you wanted to do film, to do it all. You come from a visual side, but you really seem to have a big affinity to music, to sound and rhythm. Did you have a music education as a youth or so? Because it seems to come so natural to you.
My dad was a piano teacher, and I started doing piano lessons when I was 5, and I stopped when I was 6. He used to make me play with balancing bottles of aspirin on my hand to make sure I had my hand in the right position, and my pinkies are crooked. And so I had a hard time doing a scale, so he talked about maybe we could get an operation to straighten out your pinkies. I go, I don't think piano is for me, Dad. But my mother was visual. She did architecture, and since they got divorced when I was 13, I kind of wanted to do something that brought together visuals and sound, and so film was the natural thing for me. And I did study piano like when I was 5, but my dad gave me a lot of information about music theory, and I used to hang out with him in nightclubs because he played in piano bars, and like when I was really young, I would sit there and eat maraschino cherries, and he would tell me not to talk to the drunk guys, So I hung out in bars a lot as a kid. So when I started working in nightclubs, it was kind of like coming home. Because I had something to do. I never went to nightclubs until then because I felt awkward. But when I had a job, then that gave me something to do. And I thought maybe other people are like that. And when I was at Hurrah, I tried to create things where I could get the audience participating. And I thought that was fun because some people were into that too. New Jersey, the northern New Jersey. Kinnelon, West Milford. It's up in the Lake region near New York State.
So where are these
Little bars, yeah, in northern New Jersey. Really like little dive bars, but they had a piano. Well, thank you, everybody.